So the Chinese dream, you've probably heard that phrase thrown around a lot, right? But what is it really? Well, today we're going to dig into that. We're going to unpack the official vision, drawing straight from speeches and writings by Xi Jinping from 2012 to 2014 to get to the heart of this blueprint for China's future. All right, let's jump in.
Right off the bat, you can see just how forward-looking this whole idea is. I mean, this isn't about some short-term goal. It's a massive, multi-generational project. This quote really sets the stage. It's like the entire dream is a baton being passed to the younger generation. They're not just supposed to be along for the ride. They're positioned as the main characters, the stars of this whole national story.
Okay, so to really wrap our heads around this, we're going to break it down into 5 key parts. First up, we'll define what this dream actually is. Then, we'll look at who's supposed to make it happen. After that, we'll get into the strategy, the how. Then, we'll cover the core values that are meant to be the glue holding it all together. And finally, we'll see how this whole vision fits in with the rest of the world.
All right, let's dive into part 1. So what is the Chinese dream? It's definitely more than just a snappy slogan. As you're about to see, it's a really specific vision for national rejuvenation, and it's all built around 2 huge long-term goals.
Okay, so at its core, the whole vision really boils down to 3 big, interconnected ideas. You've got a prosperous country, a revitalized nation, and of course, better lives for the people. And it's interesting, right? National strength and individual happiness are basically presented as 2 sides of the very same coin.
And look, this isn't just some vague, fuzzy hope. Nope, this is a project with very real deadlines. The whole dream is anchored to what they call the 2 centenary goals. The first deadline was for 2021. The goal was to become a moderately prosperous society. But the really big one, that's set for 2049. That's the 100th anniversary of the People's Republic, and the aim is for China to be a fully developed, modern nation.
This next point really gets to the heart of the relationship between the individual and the state. The whole argument is that your personal dreams, my personal dreams, they can only really take off if the national dream succeeds first. It's this idea that one can do well only when one's country and nation do well. It's almost like everyone's personal ambition is directly wired into this huge, collective project.
Okay, so if this whole dream is about the future, who's actually supposed to build that future? Well, that brings us right to the youth. They are consistently framed as the engine driving this entire project. And the source material we're looking at spends a lot of time spelling out exactly what their role and responsibilities are.
And this quote, wow, it just perfectly captures that expectation. It's not just about, continuing the work of the generation before you. The message here is crystal clear. It's your responsibility to do better, to go further, to surpass them.
So what does that actually take? Well, according to the text, it boils down to a list of 5 key things. Number 1, have firm ideals and convictions. 2, get some real, practical, professional skills. 3, don't be afraid to innovate and create. 4, you got to be devoted to hard work, not just empty talk. And finally, number 5, temper your character. Basically, build a strong moral backbone. And you'll see this idea of character come up again and again. All right, so we've got the role of the youth down. But what's the high-level game plan for the nation as a whole? That brings us to our 3rd section, the path of reform. This is all about the economic and governing philosophy that's supposed to be the powerhouse behind the entire Chinese dream.
Now, this is fascinating. You see the seemingly small change in wording, but it actually signals a massive policy shift. The market's role in allocating resources was officially changed from just a basic role to a decisive one. And trust me, that's not just playing with words. It's a clear signal of a commitment to double down on market-based reforms as the absolute central engine for the economy.
And another thing, this reform isn't a project that just ends. There's no finish line. The vision here is that reform is this continuous, ongoing journey. It's a permanent state of adapting, changing, and evolving to make sure the country keeps moving forward.
So with all this constant change, how do you manage it all without things flying off the rails? Well, the text brings up this really old proverb. Governing a big country is as delicate as frying a small fish. And what does that mean? It means you've got to be careful. You need a steady hand. You can't be too aggressive or too clumsy, or the whole thing just falls apart. But look, building a nation isn't just about economics and rules. It needs a moral compass, right? And that brings us to the 4th part, the core values. These are the principles that are designed to be the ethical foundation for the whole society.
So these are officially known as the core socialist values, and you can really think of them as the nation's official moral compass. They're a set of guiding principles that lay out the spiritual aspirations of the country and create a standard for judging right from wrong.
And here they are, all 12 of them. What's really interesting is how they're organized into 3 different levels. First, you've got values at the national level, things like prosperity, democracy, and harmony. Then you have values for the social level, like freedom, equality, and justice. And finally, it drills down to the individual level, with virtues like patriotism, dedication, and integrity. It's really a complete, top-to-bottom moral code.
Okay, so we've looked at the internal blueprint, right? We've covered the dream itself, the role of the youth, the reform strategy, and the core values. But what about the outside world? How does this vision interact globally? That brings us to our 5th and final piece, the vision for global relations. This whole vision for foreign policy really stands on 4 main pillars. The first is a commitment to peaceful development. The second is a strategy of opening up to create mutual benefits. The third is taking an active part in global governance. And the fourth, and this is a big one, is drawing a firm line that core national interests will never be sacrificed.
And this is the message that's presented to the rest of the world. The argument being made is that a successful Chinese dream isn't something to be feared, but that it's actually a net positive for everyone. The idea is that it will bring opportunities and peace to the world, not threats and turmoil.
So there you have it. A really comprehensive blueprint for national rejuvenation, all the way from its core definition to its role on the world stage. It's clear, it's unified, and it's incredibly ambitious. And all of this leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. In today's multipolar world, what does a unified national vision on this scale really mean for the rest of us?